The opinions expressed by the host and guests in this show are not necessarily the views of Children's Health Defense.
Good morning, CHD. It is Friday, the 24th of July, 2026. We're live here at CHD TV, and it's actually a Brian Hooker day all day. Good morning, Brian. He's on with me first. He's our Chief Scientific Officer for Children's Health Defense. I'm sure you all know that. And so we're going to have a little chat, and then we're going to go to, excuse me, Doctors and Scientists, which has been already pre-recorded with, who have you got on?
Tyler Hudson, who has written a new book called, The Missing Lyric.
So that will be afterwards. So you're on all day. All right. So look, we want to cover this, Brian, because we are sick to death of this measles fear-mongering. So here's the headline. Excuse me. Here's the headline. It's coming up. Well, even if it does, we have a few technical issues this morning, everyone, so bear with us. The US hits most cases of world's most contagious disease in 35 years, and it's only July. So be afraid, be very afraid. And just to remind you all, there have been no deaths from measles in the USA. None. Zero deaths.
None. They will tell you that there have been 3 deaths from the measles. That's absolutely incorrect. 2 of them were due to hospital error on bacterial pneumonia. The other one is an unconfirmed death. I mean, when you don't release information, we can't say it's a measles death. Absolutely not. There's so many lies here. And the first lie is that the measles portion of the MMR vaccine is working. It's not. One of the reasons that we're seeing this is that they have been manufacturing this particular vaccine for really since 1978. And so circulating wild-type measles is very, very rare in our population. When that happens, then you have a less than adequate immunity. You have vaccine immunity, which is less than adequate. It's on something different. It is on a live virus that doesn't exist anymore. And so therefore, there are so many breakthrough reactions. And if you look beyond the veneer of what states are actually reporting, there are a lot of people, over 10%, probably many, many more, because I believe that the states are being deceptive regarding this. More than 10% of these are breakthrough cases of individuals who were vaccinated.
So what's the plan here? Is the media saying they're trying to sell MMRs, get everyone to get vaccinated?
Exactly.
And should we remind people that people can and do die from the MMR vaccine, not to mention brain injury for life?
Well, that's the thing is that, the media says that there have been 5 deaths of the measles in the United States in the last 20 years. And they also report a death statistic of about 1 in 500, which is absolutely false. The truth is that, of these 5 deaths, most of them are under dubious circumstances and really aren't measles deaths at all. And then second of all is that in the same 20 years, over 100 people died from the MMR vaccine on VAERS. And we know that's woefully underreported.
Yeah, I mean, where's the headline on that?
None. No headline whatsoever. It's just go out, get vaccinated. It's safe and effective. You were vaccinated before, get another one anyway. Let's raise Merck's profit margin. And the problem is, Polly, as this vaccine becomes more and more outdated, we're just going to see more of the same. We are absolutely going to see more of the same. It's always blame the anti-vaxxers, but don't blame Merck for not changing their formulation to stay up with the times. And don't blame, the fact that it is a self-limiting infection, that the mortality rate was about 2 in 10,000 before the vaccine was introduced. I mean, we need to get these quote unquote dirty little secrets out there about the measles and counter the fear about the measles.
So let's get this straight. The measles that people are catching is not the wild type measles that I got in my day.
No.
It's the vaccine strain.
No, it's
No?
a mutated strain. It has mutated, but what they're catching is something that the vaccine does not adequately protect for any longer. Okay, so it's not like they're getting the measles from the vaccine. That does happen. I want to tell you that that does happen, but it only happens in individuals that got the measles vaccine, in close proximity. So, it's easy for somebody to come down with vaccine measles 2 weeks after they get the vaccine. But this is not that, Polly. What this is a mutated strain of measles that the vaccine does not protect for.
Okay, so again, let's summarize. If you're a young mother and you're petrified because you're reading the press and you're thinking, I'm going to have to go and get the MMR. So, first of all, your child could die or could be brain injured. It also could catch measles from the measles shot.
Right.
Right, could. Also, we know many people that took loads of MMR vaccines and got measles. So that doesn't work. So there is no benefit whatsoever to taking the MMR shot. And also, on top of that, and I know this is going to freak some people out, there are some doctors and scientists who believe that catching measles is actually good for your immune system.
Well, it does train the immune system. These childhood infections are really, really the training grounds for the immune system. And the thing about getting the measles is once you've had it, then you have durable immunity to the measles. Once you've had the chickenpox or the mumps, you have durable immunity to those diseases, those viral diseases. Rubella, same. So the you know the inconvenience of having a week-long, 2-week-long infection where you need to isolate is not worth risking the vaccine. It is definitely not worth risking the vaccine. And we've seen so many different things around this Merck formulation, around what's called MMR2. We don't know how much virus they're putting in. We know that the current version on the market has never really been safety tested. And we know that the mumps portion of the vaccine absolutely unequivocally does not work.
Yeah, we know a lot more because I know you've been speaking to whistleblowers and things like that around the MMR. I mean, we're going
Right.
to vax as well on the MMR. I mean, at the end of the day, the MMR is from my personal point of view, is a death sentence. Honestly, there is no
Right.
bonus to taking that.
No, it's absolutely not a natural way of seeing these viruses. Nobody gets exposed to this level of virus, 3 different viruses, all at the same time. It's a recipe for disaster, and in so many cases, um, that it has ended in disaster, whether it's an autism diagnosis, whether it's a seizure disorder, whether it's somebody passing away because of anaphylaxis or complications due to the particular shot. Its safety profile is abysmal.
And Brian, let's just remind that young mother that's watching and is confused. First of all, your doctor, your pediatrician, has not got your best interest at heart. It is the pediatrician is getting paid. If you take that MMR vaccine, they're going to make money out of your child being vaccinated. The press is funded by Big Pharma. Well, certainly
Right.
the health side of it is. And the school that your doctor went to is also funded by Big Pharma. So you really, I know it's hard for people to understand. Brian, I mean, I speak to Bella's friends. They're still taking their kids for vaccines, even though they know what we do. I don't know how we break through to these people about the dangers of vaccines.
We need to break through, and there are dubious circumstances around some of these infections. Nobody knows still with the West Texas outbreak of the measles where it came from. they have not identified patient zero where that particular strain of measles came from. There were also some very, very strange diagnoses in Seminole, Texas, which was the epicenter of the outbreak, the community that you and I visited, where the symptoms of the measles were very, very strange. Some individuals reported getting the mumps at the same time, or the chickenpox at the same time, or something that looked like that. And so, it something doesn't smell right there. I don't know if I want to go any further with that, but I do believe that the mode of operation of big pharma that controls so much is to bring down Secretary Kennedy.
I agree with you. And something is wrong. I was talking to a mother whose children got measles, and then after measles, they then got the most horrific whooping cough. It was weird. There's definitely some weird stuff going on, and I think that we need to get to the bottom of it. All right, we've only got 4 minutes left, and we do have to cover a few more things. So first of all, back to school toolkit. So this is a toolkit that's been put together by our amazing staff.
Right.
And if you have a child in school, or someone's got a child in school, do send them this. You'll be able to send it from the notes in the notes of the show notes. So do send that out. It's very informative. And any questions you've got, write to us and we'll make sure they're answered for you. But know your rights and things like what you're signing when you send your child into school. So be careful, not signing their life away, especially when it comes to vaccines.
And there's so many good portions of this back to school kit. It is extensive regarding vaccines, but it's extensive regarding so many different other things and so many different pitfalls regarding educational systems that parents need to be aware of.
That's right. Now let's talk about Erica Schwartz for a second. Now she's a nominee for the CDC, right? And why is she there? She's horrific.
She is absolutely abysmal. When she was, I believe she was in the Coast Guard, and she was ordering vaccine mandates left and right, left and right. She was a military physician, and she is a vaccine believer. And the way she talks, Polly, is really, really disconcerting, because she talks like vaccines are a religion and not science and medicine. She said directly in the hearing, "I believe in vaccines." Well, that is quite a belief, and that is giving a lot of power to a very, very vast, complex thing that has not ended well for so many people.
But here's the thing that I'm very confused about. It says Trump's pick, but isn't Bobby as head of HHS? Isn't he in charge of who picked them? What, he wouldn't have picked someone like that.
No, he wouldn't have picked someone like that. So it's, there's a bit of a mystery there of, what is going on, why it's going on. She does take orders directly from Secretary Kennedy. And so that, to me gives comfort, because I know Secretary Kennedy. I worked with him for many, many years, and I know that he follows the science, he follows medicine, and he will do things that he believes are going to save the most children and be the best for their health. So, but I see a big, big conflict arising.
Yeah, it's very worrying.
Yes.
Could this be to do with the upcoming midterm elections? Do you think this is just purely political?
It could be very political. I think that Erica Schwartz is actually the wrong political choice, because it's turning off a lot of individuals in the health freedom community and the MAHA movement that, quite frankly, were helpful in putting President Trump over the top in the presidential election. So I don't like the fact that constituency is being left behind. I have lots of different questions regarding that. I'm not an extremely political person. I'm a science nerd. But looking at what is best for the health of our nation, this is the wrong direction to go.
That's right. Well, now I want to tell our viewers that next Wednesday, save the date and make sure you're signed up for text alerts because we're going to go live earlier than normal. It's going to be Brian, myself, Mary will be live from DC. It is, well, Fauci is going to testify with his memory issues.
Yes.
So it's a big day, everybody. We're going to be live on Facebook, X, Rumble, CHD TV, and we are going to be talking about it as it goes along. So when Fauci forgets things, we're lucky because Brian has a great memory, so he will be able to jog Fauci's memory on what actually happened. So we're looking forward to that, aren't we?
Absolutely. I wish, I could have a microphone right there that could rebut everything that says, well, actually, and I'm looking forward to that. We're going to we have so much information already on what Dr. Fauci has said. We're going to actually also have individuals that are fact checking in real time. So, during the breaks, when we get an opportunity to talk, then we can address the things that he doesn't remember or that he doesn't get right.
That's right. And we'll have science team, researchers in the background, the social media clippers ready to go. It's going to be, I'm going to say it's going to be fun because, this is long overdue and actually very
It
sick.
is.
But we will make it fun because you have to in life. Brian, thank you
Exactly.
so much for being on this morning, as always, with your wisdom, education. We so appreciate you. And now we're going to go to your pre-recorded section of Doctors and Scientists.
Don't go away. This is a really good episode. They're all groovy. You have to watch them all. But Tyler Hudson, such an amazing young man, autism dad, musician, author. You're gonna love it. Well, good morning, CHD. Welcome to Doctors and Scientists. I'm your host, Dr. Brian Hooker, and I'm so excited for today's guest. We are in the middle of a very, very warm July. It is Friday, July 24th. Our guest today, Tyler Hudson, bring him on, has written a book that you must absolutely, if you have a pulse, this is required reading. It's called The Missing Lyric. We know Tyler Hudson because he was one of the finalists on the show The X Factor and is a professional musician slash autism dad extraordinaire from down under, even though he's originally from Texas. But Tyler is a friend of mine. We connected over his book. I saw a post that he had, I think it was on Instagram, and became fast friends. So, Tyler, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm a bit of a Textralian, so I like to say "G'day, y'all."
You've got your Australian, outback hat and your pointy cowboy boots.
Yes, I do. I do indeed, and I'm wearing my beanie this morning because I'm coming to you from Tasmania, where it is 0 degrees. The snow on the mountains behind me, and it's not the case in America. So we are literally in different worlds at the moment.
Absolutely, and I love it there. I love it. I was had the privilege of going down to Australia in 2017, and with the Vax tour,
Mm,
the people that came out in the health freedom movement were so absolutely wonderful to us. It was me,
mm.
Polly Tommy, and Dr. Suzanne Humphreys. Our feet didn't hit the ground. It was an
Yeah.
amazing experience. And so you married an Aussie, right? Is that
I
the case?
I did. I left Texas straight out of high school. I went to college in Sydney, met a beautiful Australian bride, and she just couldn't keep her hands off me. And so
Well,
we got married 4 days before my visa expired. Quick wedding, and we've got three beautiful children, and we love life here. Of course, I'm always partial to America. I say inside every Australian is an American dying to get out, and I think that's probably what you encountered with your Vaxxed tour. People are waking up here in Australia. It's a completely different government, so we have a lot of different hurdles to cross that you do in the states, but um, there's traction gaining, and voices are growing louder, and I wrote this book to help try to just tell our story honestly and contribute to that momentum that we can push for a better future for our kids.
Absolutely. The book is called The Missing Lyric. It came out yesterday, and I'm recommending the book first because literally you need to, while you're watching this, just pull up your Amazon app or whatever bookseller you use and quietly just go ahead and buy this book. Tyler, what you've done is so many dads need this, regardless of whether you had an affected child or not. But you've encapsulated and you have walked us through your valley of the shadow of death, and you've talked about grief and grieving.
I think I was able to, from years down the track, I was able to examine my own seasons and stages I went through. Firstly, my child, my son, his name is Lyric, which is incredibly ironic that my profoundly autistic, non-speaking child has the name Lyric. It's the irony is not lost on me. Oh, thanks God. Processing that, and he's now 18. Looking back on our early days, just post-diagnosis, going through these phases, I've realized in retrospect, I can chart my own grief journey. You can go back through my Instagram posts and see the things I would used to say about my child, and I go, "Oh, that's the anger phase. Oh, well, that's denial." For me, I denied that this was going to be his existence, and I fought furiously to grab him by the hand and pull him out of autism, and would latch on to stories of the miraculous and stories of healing, and I just refused to believe that this was our path in life, which I can look back and go, that's firmly in the denial stage of grief. And that's where most dads just check out. They don't know what to autism and having a child with profound needs manifests itself in a way that a lot of our kids don't need a mentor, and that's what a dad wants to raise a protege. They need a
Oh,
carer,
yeah.
they support worker, and a lot of dads don't feel good at that, and so we just sort of gravitate towards the things that don't bring us face to face with our own inadequacy. So a lot of dads pour themselves into work. I did that. I thought,
Mhm.
well, we don't know what the future holds. Whatever it brings, we're going to need more money, sweetheart. I'll go make money. You deal with the kids. Cool, great. And that's a
Mhm.
flawless strategy for marital intimacy. And I nearly lost my marriage over it because I couldn't come face to face with this reality that my son has an issue that I cannot fix. It's a
Right.
problem that I cannot solve. Not that I don't love my son, but I love him so much, I'll do anything to mitigate his struggles and everything we've tried. If you're an autism parent, there's nothing you haven't done. There's no stone you haven't unturned. And
Right.
for many of us, it doesn't lead anywhere meaningful. I feel like I've arrived at acceptance in embracing that this is who my son is now that he's 18. That was a
Mhm.
very there's nothing between 18 and 80 for us now. So, so whew, this is life. What does life with a profoundly autistic child who is an adult look like? And having arrived at acceptance, I can look back and see the stages of grief. And the reason I wanted to write this book is because I can see society itself going through those same stages. I think society is having a grief response to autism, and they just don't know it. Because the first stage of grief is denial. And I think society's stuck in denial that we actually have a problem that we need to address. Not that our children represent problems we don't wish we had, but
Right.
that future generations deserve more than our denial that this is happening, that children continue to regress into autism every single day. There's something we can do about it. Maybe not in every single case, but at least for those. And aren't those kids worth fighting for? And so that's why I wrote the book.
It's so stunning. And there are so many dads that are stuck. We know that neurodevelopmental diagnoses in the United States alone, that's 20% of all children. One in
Mm,
five have some type of
mm,
neurodevelopmental diagnosis. One in 31 have autism. One in 22 in the state of California, Los Angeles County alone, one in 10 boys has an autism diagnosis. Out of that, 30 to 40% have profound autism. And so, therefore, there are a lot of grieving dads, and there are a lot
Yeah.
of grieving dads that you see them get stuck in denial. And, I don't want to blame anybody. I don't want to point
No.
fingers at anybody, but it is so easy to get stuck in provider mode because in the forefront of your mind is like, well, okay, I can make his life easier or her life easier.
At this stage in life, you stop thinking in weeks and months and you start
Hmm.
thinking in years and decades. The poem that my daughter wrote that is really heart wrenching about her reality as a sibling growing up with someone with profound needs. She loves him fiercely, and you can see that in the poem. But I was immediately berated by society for saying that my daughter should have anything to do with my son after we pass. And it exposes this cognitive dissonance that society expects the parents to jump through these hoops and go through these mental gymnastics, which is actually a part of the bargaining stage of grief. You're looking
Right.
for levers of control to make yourself feel better about the situation. But I'm going to die at some stage. And then what happens to my son? Well, his next of kin will need to know where he is and make sure he's looked after. That doesn't mean he has to live with his sisters, but they're at least going to know where he is and administrate his affairs. And society immediately jumped on me. Well, a lot in the autism community, especially, jumped on me for making my daughters do that. And to me, that it just exposed the cognitive dissonance that you're wanting me to draw a neat little box around what autism can and can't affect, but
Right.
we live in the real world, and that's that I'm no longer going to be here one day to provide care. What happens to my son? He'll go to my daughters, and that's the reality. These aren't needs you just grow out of, and they're not needs that disappear when I die. It's a long process, and we just need to do better for our kids, our children's children.
Exactly, exactly. And really, it's something that autism parents face sooner or later. You have to. I mean, it's inevitable.
Mm,
Death and taxes, right?
mm.
I live in California, so death and lots of taxes. But you live in socialized medicine, so probably even more. The thing that is so touching and unique, about this book that you really I have to admire the fact that you filleted yourself
Mm,
two dads, two
mm.
moms, and you laid these emotions bare. Uh, People need to go through this. I mean, if you're going to be good for your kids, you have to be good for yourself.
I said I was going to tell our story honestly. And
Hmm.
again, looking back, I can see that's a lot of what I went through is firmly in that anger phase of grief. I was just angry and looking for something to blame, and most dads blame themselves in some way. I
Right.
did this to my child. There was some random concoction of whatever perfect storm that contributed to my child being this way. And for me, growing up in small town Texas, I looked at that through a spiritual lens,
Hmm.
and I just assumed I had done something wrong and I was being punished. And so I spent a decade of my life digging out the skeletons in my closet to reverse what God had done to my child, which was the subconscious narrative of what I was believing.
Right. Right.
And you can only live in a state of angst for so long before you're just not going to survive it yourself.
No.
Um, and so when I finally came to the realization that my child's not getting a miracle from a spiritual or medical aspect, because we tried absolutely everything, um, and you fall flat to the mat, and you wake up and look at life honestly, that then empowers you to move forward to say, okay, this is our reality. I've accepted that. And we're at peace with it. I love my son so much. I've committed the rest
Mm.
of my life for us growing into old men together. He is my best friend. I love that for me. I am his only friend. I hate that for him,
Hmm.
but we're going to make the most of the time that remains. That doesn't mean that my daughter's future children should be at risk of facing the same story.
Right.
And I am not being genuine to myself, if I unplug from society, live the rest of my life out here on the edge of the Tasmanian wilderness, no one would blame me. But that
Mhm.
does not change the direction society is heading. And I have to insert my story into the conversation so that we can inform people for a more informed conversation, because autism's been so overtaken by the high functioning portion of the spectrum, and they're entitled to share their stories. But what
Right.
happens is kids like ours get slowly diluted out in this flood of voices, that our kids no longer represent the autism story as they once classically did. And you know what?
Mhm.
That's fine. I just want to advocate for my child the way he needs to be advocated for, without risking offending those who have the capacity to understand offense. And maybe that means we need further distinction in the spectrum. Maybe it means we need to split it. Maybe it means you need to kick us off the spectrum. I don't
Right.
care. What I want to do is speak honestly about what life is like with my son, and bend society's ears to his struggles so that they might have compassion and seek to limit these struggles for future generations, and not praise and celebrate them like we're being trained to do by the
Mhm.
media.
Your words just have so much wisdom to them, and the seasoning of 18 years
Mm,
of experience, and really, throwing yourself into this. I've seen pictures of Lyric. He's a rock star. He's like his dad.
mm.
He's a cutie, and um, and I love some of his tendencies. We've had these conversations. And I think that we're somehow related, because he has his echolalia, or his repetitive speech patterns, speech loops that he has, are tidbits that he picked up from movies. That's genius.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Tell us a little bit more about Lyric.
sure. So Lyric was growing perfectly normal first year of life, and he shares the same story that so many hundreds of, you would probably have the exact figures, hundreds of thousands
Right.
of parents share, that
Hmm.
their child was meeting every milestone.
Right.
They've gone in for routine vaccinations, and then they've stopped. I'm amazed that everyone on the planet knows this phrase: correlation does not equal causation. Yeah, Lee, that is such a great marketing scheme. And though true, it is true.
It is true. Wish I had a
What
nickel for every
that
time I heard it. Yes.
statement does is invites people to just bury their head in the sand and not look at correlations that they don't want to
Hmm.
see, which is a part of the stage of grief. You don't want to believe that vaccines could contribute to autism. And this is what I've started saying, is that, well, maybe my child doesn't have autism, whatever that is these days, because you can't even define it. You can't describe it to me without listing a comorbidity. Autism, in fact, is not even a thing. It's a name of a category of neurological disorder. So
Right.
when you say your child has autism, what do you even mean? No one knows what you're talking about anymore. So maybe my child doesn't have autism. Maybe he has injuries that present as symptoms we identify as autism.
Mhm.
Okay, fine. That's what happened to us. That's what's happened to thousands and thousands of other parents. So he then stopped progressing. Now, what's interesting with Lyric is it's not like he had a car crash moment where the lights went out. I don't recall any febrile seizures, any massive major medical issues. He
Mhm.
just stopped developing. It's like a thick fog rolled in over his life. The light did go out of his eyes. He began looking straight through you. He would stop socially engaging, and whatever words were coming out of his mouth were not intelligible words as they once were. They were gibberish. And then at about 4 years old is when we started picking up on this echolalia. He would
Mhm.
see with amazing clarity, be able to insert a movie quote into a scene that fit within context. And the first time we ever saw this happen was he was about 4 years old. Lyric's superpower, if you will. I don't I don't like
Right.
using
Right.
that term, but people gravitate towards it. He was a climber, he was an absconder. He would disappear. He's our little nonverbal ninja, we called him. He'd just be gone. Um, he climbed up the drain pipe on our house and was standing on top of the roof at about 4 years old. And we were looking for him. He saw me in the backyard, and I just hear this little voice from on top of the roof. And this little voice said, "Smile and wave, boys, smile and wave." And he was quoting Penguins of Madagascar. It's one of the movies that he'd seen. And we are like, our jaws hit the floor. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's talking. And I understood what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just the first of many times that he'd insert a movie quote into life. Now, that was when he was 4. He's now 18. He's never stopped doing that.
Right.
He has developed very minimal functional speech, so he can speak in 2-3 sentences, 2-3 word sentences to get his basic needs met. But he'll monologue you a scene from a movie, no worries whatsoever. Schooling was out here in the wilderness of Tasmania. He was just being babysat.
Right.
We lost all of those schooling years of his life. He's not being educated because we didn't know how to teach him. And then, of course, as we're learning now with spelling to communicate, oh my goodness, he doesn't have an intellectual disability. He has a motor planning issue. We can't
Right.
gauge his cognition because it's all based on your ability to communicate. And so we have just started spelling to communicate in the last 2 or 3 months. And you know me, Brian, I'm being vulnerable and honest with my book. I'm documenting our spelling journey because I'm processing my own doubts through it.
Right.
Because as a parent, you've been offered a miracle cure 100 times for your child, and none of them
Oh,
have
yeah.
ever worked. So
Right. Right.
you hold on loosely to hope. But that's what you
Mm-hmm.
have to do as a parent. You have to remain in that vulnerability to hold on to hope in the midst of all the struggles that you faced. So I'm documenting our journey, and every time we spell, Lyric blows my mind. He spelled inconspicuous last night.
Wow.
Amazing. I didn't even he can't say it, but he can spell it. Wow.
Right.
And so now we're just realizing, oh, man, this child, he's just trapped in his own body, and we need to help him escape. We need to help him get out. And again, that story needs to be told because we're sanitizing this condition, and
Mm-hmm.
the reality is society doesn't want further investigation because they don't want to know the reality
No.
of our kids that we're trapping children in their own bodies. Just for clarity, I don't think it's just vaccines. I know that was the triggering point for us, but
Right.
I believe that it's just a biological tipping point that's reached through any number of factors. But I also
Mm-hmm.
believe the most controllable factor in that is vaccination. And we need to speak honestly about those risks and have genuine informed consent for families.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, it is, if you want to look at an effective way to toxify a child, it would be 100% absorption.
Mm,
And that's what vaccination is. Do I know families that had unvaccinated kids regress into autism? Absolutely. Absolutely.
mm,
There were other factors that came into play. They reached their toxic tipping point. Some of them involved mold, sick building syndrome. There are myriad factors that can reach that that can cause a child to reach that particular toxic tipping point. As toxins increase in society through the GMO revolution, through EMR, through multiple vaccines being added to the schedule, through acetaminophen, which I'm more convinced than ever does play a role in many, many cases of autism. We're seeing that happen.
mm,
What I appreciate is so much about your journey is that you're telling us you didn't jettison hope, but
mm,
you're telling us to hold on to it loosely.
mm,
And then I think that's the posture that dads need to have in order to, when that special something comes down the pike. For my family at Spellers,
yeah,
definitely we're 5.5 years, a little
yeah,
over 5 years into this journey, and it's made all the difference. It's changed the trajectory of my son's life.
yeah,
His inconspicuous was the word Renaissance
yeah.
that
Wow.
he spelled with one of his first sessions with Don Marie Gavin. When we took him down to San Diego. So we're seeing this, and I'm excited for you watching it unfold for Lyric as well. And I know for many other children, there was a recent New York Times article where they took apart and tried to debunk RPM, which is one of the precursors to
Mm,
spellers. When you see
mm.
stuff like that, do you really
Yeah.
think it's Lyric that is initiating these contacts, or is he somehow picking up some vibe from you that allows him to do this?
Like I said, that's where I have the benefit of I am a skeptic. I do hold
Mhm.
it loosely. I I am his communication partner. We learn via Dana Johnson over Zoom, and we have
Right.
one more CP that works with us, and we work together, and we're both skeptical. The very first time Dana chatted to him, we were all in the room together. Lyrics sitting down at the table, he's looking around, he's not paying attention. I thought none of
Sure.
this is getting in. And she talks to him like an 18-year-old man, speaks calmly, speaks slowly. She doesn't put inflections in her voice to try to grab his attention, to talk to him like he's 3 years old. And
Right.
I have secondhand embarrassment for her because I'm like, oh my gosh, she doesn't get this. He's she doesn't know he's not in there.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
embarrassed for her. And then Lyric does exactly what she asks him to do. We're on the three boards, and we even started with the flap to reduce that,
Right.
the motor load. And slowly we asked him to spell this and that and this and that. And he was about 80% accurate with
Hmm.
his first attempt at poking through the pencil through the letterboard. And
That's
so my
amazing.
skeptic goes, right, well, he's got a 20% chance of hitting the right letter. And then he goes, well, when he does it two in a row, well, those odds decrease.
Right.
And so every time I hold that board out, and Dana tells me not to do this, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm testing his cognition. I don't want to prompt him to get his eyes on the board and just pick a letter. I'm curious if he has any clue what the study that we've read and he remembers what we discussed. I don't even remember it. I'm looking at the answer on the page.
Right.
And it looks like he's in a different universe. And then he'll just put his pencil through the first letter of the word that we're working on. I'm like, he knows. Like, he knows what the
Hmm.
word is. He might not know exactly how to spell it perfectly, and he might make mistakes. But for inconspicuous, for instance, for him to start with the letter I, that let me know, okay, he knows the word we're looking for. Now I'm going
Right.
to have to coach his motor to get the rest of it right. And I would
Right.
say at this stage, it 100% is facilitated communication. I
Hmm.
am helping him choose the right letter to spell, but I'm
Right.
not asking him to open communicate. I'm asking him to spell a word. And because we're in the acquisition phase of this skill. So when
Totally.
we progress past that and he's into open communication, then to me, that's where it becomes undeniable that this we're not telling these kids what to say. They're speaking or typing or poking their own
Hmm.
thoughts. And I'm all for more research. And this is where you hold intention. I absolutely. However, you would test that double blind placebo randomized trials. I don't know how you do that with spelling,
Right.
but I'm all for the science to back that up. But what I would also ask for the same the reciprocation in other fields of practice, that observation always precedes scientific discovery. We might not know how it's working, but for
Right.
those families, it's working and it's worth pursuing. And the fear is that people think they're being hoodwinked or shilled, or they think I'm getting paid to. No, I'm paying dearly to to participate in
if
spelling. Trust
if
me,
only.
I am an
Yeah.
unemployed father who's author who's getting money together to teach his child how to spell so we can communicate. Right? I'm not making a cent doing this,
Oh my
and
goodness. Yeah, I'm still waiting for, that big pharmaceutical payoff. It hasn't
yeah,
happened yet. And for me to say that vaccines are safe and effective, they just don't really come knocking at my door, or that
yeah,
one particular benefactor that will say, "Oh, I'll underwrite your spelling journey. You just shine
yeah,
it on. Smile and wave,
yeah.
boys," just like Lyric
Okay,
said.
yeah. So I haven't really done a deep dive into that realm yet, and I have
Hmm.
no doubt that the further I get into it, the more I will engage myself in that conversation because as an advocate, and this is where I'm finding my dad energy.
Right.
Well, these kids need somebody to stand up for them. I'll go to bat for you. But because I'm only just getting in that controversy, I've got to sit with it for a while and let it stew and find my find my way, find my message for the spellers out there. But I think the spellers are doing the best job of advocating for themselves, and that's the beauty of spelling to communicate. You don't have to take my word for it. You just have to
No.
trust the word of the speller.
Yeah, it's the spellers themselves that can, will, and are advocating for themselves. Tyler, how do people get more information on the book, The Missing Lyric? How do people follow you on social media and download your music?
Yeah, sure. Well, evidence that I'm the
We,
jack of all
we,
trades,
we
master
might
of
as well
none.
hit all. We're going to fire on all cylinders here.
My Instagram is my most popular platform, and it's Tyler
Mhm.
Hudson Music. And that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. This is evidence of I'm just a dad that started speaking up. I didn't set out an autism page to just promote these messages. I just used the platform that I had. So you can find me
Right.
at Tyler Hudson Music, all one word. Got my website, tylerhudsonmusic.com. And the book is The Missing Lyrics, a father's story of autism, grief, and a society in denial. That is being sold exclusively through Amazon for paperback and Kindle,
Mhm.
but it's on most audiobook platforms. The audiobook, I've been told, is the best way to consume it because there's lots of little Easter eggs in there. We have a lot of fun. And I try to keep it light because it's a heavy topic. What's happening to our children, but I refuse to look away any longer. I'm just not going to do it, and I had to lend my voice to that. So I would be honored if any of your listeners wanted to read or listen to that book, and please let me know what you think. It's out, so get
And
into it.
you,
And
you did you narrate the book?
I did narrate the book, so
Oh my
I was
goodness,
able to
the
put
Tex Australian accent. That's so good.
yeah,
Perfect.
I was able to put all the nuance and feeling into it. Because I lived it, so I thought nobody better to narrate it than me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I am so keen on following this journey and seeing, as the lyrics are written,
Mm,
as lyrics writes his own lyrics,
yeah,
as he becomes open and communicates. So thank you so much. Please, please, please stay in touch with us. And please, everybody,
absolutely.
the missing lyrics, pick it up, get the Kindle version, get the written version. I like books, so I just kind of have them right in
Mm,
front of me. So I get the written version. But you will laugh, you will cry, you will quote movie phrases as
yes,
well
you will.
because they're in the book. So again, Tyler, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Brian. Absolute honor, and it's been a pleasure to become your friend over these past couple weeks. And I thank you so much for making yourself available and doing the work that you're doing. I believe history will show you were right all along, and that's the future we need to contend for our children.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody. Share, share, share. This is a really important episode of Doctors and Scientists. People need to have this book. People need to understand this particular journey. And we are a society that is grieving, and this will help you through it. Have a great day.
Tell me who you are, first of all.
My name is Lee Shavers.
And are you okay for us to make this into a little film and
Yes.
put it out on social media and wherever, as far and wide as we can get it?
I'm all over the place anyway.
All right, so you're okay with that?
I'm all over media anyway.
All right, so you're a grandfather,
Yes,
and how many grandchildren do you have?
7.
And tell me about your attitude towards vaccines. with all your
I
grandchildren.
don't believe in vaccinations or vaccines. And I've often been asked, what about you? You were vaccinated. And, well, I'm 60 years old. When I was vaccinated, we had smallpox and polio, and that was it, too. And they didn't use the Marisol or any of the wicked preservatives that they're using. It was a completely different thing then. But do we really need them today?
So your grandchildren haven't been vaccinated?
We have at least 2 grandchildren that are not participating in a vaccination program, and they're super healthy.
Can you see the difference between them and the ones that are?
Well, they're super healthy, super smart. They very, very seldom ever get sick, cold or flu or anything else.
No, fine. Okay, now look, we're going to talk about a particular grandson of yours, and what's his name?
Hardy.
Hardy. Okay, tell us the story when he was born and how he was as a child.
Well, Hardy is my son Johnny, his little boy, and he was bouncy, big, healthy, robust, very intelligent, always happy, always smiling, love life.
Did he chat? Did he
And
say
oh
that
my
word?
gosh, always on the go, always communicating, always hugging, always loving, just an incredible, beautiful little boy. And he was literally the sunshine of my son Johnny, his life. Johnny'd wanted a baby since he's been a teenager.
Is this Johnny's only child?
This is Johnny's only child. And Hardy had a vaccination, I believe it was a 4-stack at 14 months.
So before that, had he had any vaccination?
Yes.
But he was developing fine.
Seemed to be doing okay. You know, I always say that it seems like everybody has a little bit different strengths or weaknesses in their system, and there's always a straw that breaks the proverbial camel's back, always. And in my opinion, this was it for him. And he had the vaccination at 14 months.
Do you know what he had?
Not exactly. I don't know which 4 they gave him at the time. No, I'm kind of like in a blur over the whole thing.
And how long ago was this?
Just a couple of months ago.
So a couple of months, he goes in and has his 14 months shots. You were not happy about him being vaccinated?
No. No, I'm anti-vaccination all the way. And you know, people always, I think, do the best they can, and they have a lot of outside influences that help them make their decisions on what they think will be the best for the child. And unfortunately, this time, in my opinion, it didn't work out. He became violently ill, ran a super high fever.
Straight after the vaccine?
Right after the vaccination, and passed. He died right after that. Of course, medically, they're not going to ever admit that the vaccination would ever have anything. It would be coincidence. They'll never admit it.
Let's go. Okay, talk me through exactly what happened. So he has the vaccinations at 14 months. And can you go into detail about exactly what happened?
Well, the best way to put it is the vaccination, became very sick, ran a very high fever.
That day or days?
That night.
That night.
Sick that day, high fever that night, and the following day passed.
In his sleep? Or did he have a seizure?
While taking a nap. Just passed. But was sick the entire time. Never did regroup.
I mean, there's nothing more tragic.
Nothing more. It's the biggest. I think it's the worst of the worst that can happen in somebody's life, especially a parent's life. I think, you know, we can look at death as we get older, but there's something especially wrong when it happens to a baby.
But for you, as the father to Johnny, we'll talk about Johnny later, but for you, it's the way you right now, the pain that you must be feeling for your son, as well as your grandson and everyone infected, is immense.
Oh gosh, you know, without a doubt, life changes when something like this happens. And what I do for a living, I'm around it all the time. I get constant reports from customers of brain damage, autism, and death from vaccinations. We hear about it all the time. and it more than tugs at my heart. I'm very sorrowful for the loss of people that I know due to these vaccinations, and then it hits home base with us, and it changes you, and the sorrow doesn't go away. I tell my son Johnny, I said, you will never ever get over this. You'll carry this for the rest of your life. And I said, just use the positive input that Hardy made on your life, and do everything you can for him, in behalf of him, and for him, and keep him in your heart through the rest of your life.
So, I mean, it's the kind of stupid question, but how's Johnny doing?
It's been beyond rough. It's been beyond rough. He's has a lot of family around him that loves him. My prayer on it is that everybody sees the reality of what happened, and I hate to say it in this way, but we learn from what has happened, and I hate to say it that way.
Was it reported? Has this injury been reported?
Well, I don't think, as the system has it now, as far as like officially, I don't think the guidelines within the American Medical Association, within the legal system, are going to make any attachments that this could be a possibility, because the system is rigged against anything that would say prove that a vaccination had anything to do with the death of a child, because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry with the pharmaceutical industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
So, the day that he passed, who found him?
Johnny's wife, Morgan, found him.
So, what happened then? This is really important. Did he end up going to hospital, or was a doctor called?
No. I think the ambulance came, and then of course the law came, the police came, and then they were by law they weren't allowed to go into the room. So I think from that morning until late that evening, like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, for hours and hours, everybody had to stay downstairs, and Hardy was upstairs lying in his crib, and nobody could go see him, nobody could touch him because once that happens, the child that has died becomes property of the state. So nobody can go see him or anything. And then even when they come to take him away, they're still not allowed to touch him or see him. And they usher the baby out and take the baby away. And it's
horrific is what it is.
It's pathetic. It's beyond sad.
And did at any point anyone talk about the fact that the vaccines killed this boy?
Yes.
Who was that?
Yeah, people within the family. I don't want to say exactly who, because I don't want to cause grief from pro-vaccination folks within the family who think we're all crazy. For the others, it's kind of like the silent minority within the family was saying the vaccination.
But did any medical professionals at any point?
No.
They just said?
Oh, no, they never do. I mean, everybody that I've come into contact with that has something, even when it comes to autism, even when it comes to the point where a child takes the vaccination, is given the vaccination, and the child is autistic from that point on, there's never an association with autism or brain damage or death to the vaccination. There's never that association. I've never seen it one time happen. I know it does happen nationwide. They say, conclusively the vaccination did this, but it's very, very rare, and I've never seen it happen.
So did they do an autopsy? What was their reasoning for his death?
We do not know yet. They're not releasing any of the results. I think they release the results from the autopsy at about like 3 months later. They give you the reasoning. So we're looking at going into, I think they said October, sometime during towards the end of the month, October, maybe they'll give the results.
This is the most it's a very tragic story, and unfortunately it's one that we hear quite a lot, as you can see on our bus. There's RIPs all over the bus. Going forward, how are your family going to cope with the grief of losing him?
I think coping with the grief for me, and I think for Johnny and Morgan, is going to be remembering the good times, and any decisions we make in life, remember what's important. Keep the priorities real. Always think about Hardy and what God would have us do. I think it's humbling, it's life-changing, and we realize how precious life is. And we also realize within the powers to be, within the vaccination program, how very, very expendable we really are. Because I know we're looked at as acceptable losses. When something like this does happen, it's put off to an acceptable loss. It's only acceptable to them, not us.
Do you feel any anger?
Yes, I do. I do feel anger, and this has been something. Vaccinations have been on my mind for decades, and I'm kind of beyond the anger point. And I try to focus my energy and my efforts into, instead of anger, into education, my radio show, talking with people, reasoning with people, and planting seeds of truth. When it comes down to holding somebody responsible, not putting it on one entity or any group of people, but I put it on the greed of man. Big corporate entities that want to make huge profits upon vaccination programs and medical needs thereafter, for more medications for kids that are not totally, utterly destroyed, but then also make it and will need help and medications. It's I believe, just the greed of man, greed of corporate entities that don't have a priority or look at life as precious, but look at people as cash cows, and we're just heads in the herd to make money and profits off of.
So they put money before your grandson?
Always. We're totally expendable, 110%. I think they have no remorse, no compassion. I think they have no dignity. I think they have, as their God, the pharmaceutical industry as their God, they have money. That would be their God, and that's it. There's nothing before it. There's nothing after it. It's just profit motivated all the way.
Everyone will know the story of your grandson.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This and all CHD TV programming is made possible by generous support from viewers like you. Please consider making a contribution today to keep our programming going strong. Thank you.